July 30th, 1956. Trust Codified. President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed into law a joint resolution of the 84th Congress declaring "In God We Trust" as the official motto of the United States. This legislative act marked a critical moment in the nation's cultural and political history, embedding a religious phrase into the core symbolism of American governance. The decision was not spontaneous, but the culmination of years of social and political developments, especially during the height of Cold War tensions. The phrase, "In God We Trust," first appeared on U.S. coinage in 1864, during the Civil War, following an appeal by Reverend M.R. Watkinson of Pennsylvania. He urged the Treasury Department to recognize the deity on national currency. Secretary of the Treasury Salmon P. Chase approved the request, and the motto first appeared on the 2-cent coin. Over the following decades, its use on coins varied, eventually becoming more common after the Coinage Act of 1873 permitted its inclusion. Yet, despite its presence on currency, the phrase had no official status as a national motto until 1956. The movement to formalize "In God We Trust" gained momentum in the 1950s, during an era characterized by anti-communist sentiment. The United States, engaged in an ideological struggle against the officially atheist Soviet Union, embraced public displays of religious faith as a distinguishing feature of American life. In this context, legislators introduced measures to reinforce the nation's spiritual identity. 1 year prior, in 1955, Congress had mandated the inclusion of "In God We Trust" on all U.S. currency and coins. The logical next step was to codify the phrase as the official national motto. House Joint Resolution 396 was introduced by Representative Charles E. Bennett of Florida. A decorated World War II veteran, Bennett argued that the motto would reflect the nation's historical reliance on divine providence. The resolution passed the House on July 11, 1956, and the Senate approved it on July 19, 1956. President Eisenhower signed the resolution into law on July 30, 1956, officially establishing "In God We Trust" as the national motto and directing its prominent display on all U.S. currency. President Eisenhower had previously voiced support for measures reinforcing national religious identity. In 1954, he signed legislation adding the words "Under God" to the Pledge of Allegiance. In a public statement regarding the motto resolution, Eisenhower expressed confidence that the phrase would reinforce national unity and faith. Although the president did not initiate the legislation, his signature reflected the broad bipartisan consensus that supported it. The decision to establish a religious motto did not occur in a legal or cultural vacuum. The Supreme Court had not yet ruled on the implications of religious expressions in government. Later court decisions, particularly in the 1960s and 1970s, would address questions about the constitutionality of such symbols under the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. Despite challenges, federal courts have generally upheld the use of "In God We Trust," citing its historical use and interpreting it as ceremonial rather than religious. The motto's adoption was also a reflection of mid-20th century American identity. During the 1950s, church attendance rose, and national leaders frequently referenced religious themes in public speeches. The motto resonated with a public that viewed religious belief as a core element of American values. As a symbol, "In God We Trust" functioned as both a statement of faith and a rejection of communism, reinforcing the ideological divide of the Cold War era. In the years following its adoption, "In God We Trust" was engraved in federal buildings, schools, and courtrooms across the country. It became a ubiquitous part of American civic life, despite ongoing debates over the role of religion in government. Efforts to remove the motto have been repeatedly rejected by courts, with judges often citing the phrase's long-standing historical use and cultural significance. The July 30, 1956, signing of the joint resolution cemented a phrase that had grown from a wartime coinage feature into a national symbol. Its legal enshrinement reflected both the religious sentiment of the era and the geopolitical landscape that encouraged public affirmations of faith. While controversies persist regarding its appropriateness in a pluralistic society, the motto remains an enduring feature of American symbolism. For enthusiasts of historical ephemera, visit history-collectors.com to find collectibles that might complement your collection. You can own a piece of history.